PrymalChaos. Hey guys, PrymalChaos here. Welcome to the channel. So the other day I did Ren Money Game, and look, that was insane. It's one of those ones that really leaves you thinking, right? You're processing it long after you watch it. You're processing it, and you're just thinking, man, it really adjusted my philosophy on. I mean, not really so much on a lot of things, but it definitely made me reanalyze my thought processes about a few things. And it's one of those things that happens after the fact. You watch it and it just resonates with you through time in such a way that's really, it just echoes in your mind over and over. You can't stop thinking about it, at least in the short term. But you know, that's Ren's impact, right? He has this ability to offer up his perspective and some really insightful kind of observations and things like that. But he's not pushing a political agenda. He sort of leaves the ball in your court to interpret it how you want to. It's more of a statement of, this is how I feel, and this is sort of what I'm noticing in the world around me, and how these processes work, and how, you know, things like money and politics and stuff like that work. Take from that what you will. And I think, honestly, that's the best way of teaching. It's not pushing an ideology. It's giving you the facts so you can make up your own mind. Ren trusts his viewers to have the cognitive capacity to be able to make their own choices. And you know that if you're pushing an agenda and you feel like you have to force it down people's throats, or you have to victimize people who have other points of view and perspectives as being incorrect and therefore for the other, right? You're the opposition. You know, I feel like that means that you're not confident in your own position on those topics. Because if you are confident, you should be able to just leave the facts out there on the table and just say, there it is. That's everything I know. And this is why I feel like it's the way it is. It makes sense to me that any reasonable person would probably sort of look at it the same way. And so I feel like Ren has a lot of faith in his fan base and in the people who are, you know, enjoying his music, that they'll take what they want from what he's putting out there and maybe be a little bit educated by it, and maybe start to think about things and process things and make their own minds up about things. And that's the sensation I got from Money Game. You know, it's an intense visual. It borrows a lot from, like I said in the first video, from Stanley Kubrick, in that there's like a sense of impending doom. There's a sort of Damocles that's constantly hanging over you as you're watching it. And you're never sure exactly which turn it's going to take. But what it does do is it shocks you into paying attention, and you listen to the message and you sort of process it, and you think, oh my God, you feel like you've actually been through something a little bit traumatic by the end of it. But that's a great way of solidifying your thinking process, or at least your educational process. If something seems intense and important, then you're going to remember it and you're going to process it and think on it and ponder it. And so that's the magic of Ren, I guess. I mean, you know, like a lot of people are telling me I need to check out some of his more light stuff. And I will get to that. But at the moment, I'm just really vibing on his perspectives on things that are a little bit more, you know, intense material or darker material. So, yeah, we'll see how we go further down the track. But as promised, I'm going to jump into Money Game Part 2. Everybody told me I need to do the lyric video version, which is, I'd really like to check out the other one as well, because I just want to see how, you know, he wants to bring his visualization to life. And so far, all of his live things have been really successful, at least to me, in getting a sense of like a feeling across, you know, like some sort of like a vibe, so to speak, for want of a better word. So I'm going to jump in today, Money Game Part 2. Now, normally this is where I would drop in an ad for Enchroma. If you're interested in that, if you're colorblind, check out the link in the description. The website will tell you everything you need to know. However, today I want to talk about something that's far more important. And if you've been following what's going on in Hawaii, on Maui, anyone who's been a fan of my channel long enough knows that I've been to Hawaii many times. I love Hawaii. And I have been to, on one occasion, sadly only once, I've been to Lahaina. I stayed in Kanapale, which is just north of that. And I've driven through it and I've experienced the town. And what's happened there is nothing short of a humanitarian disaster. And, you know, there's probably an abundance of places that you can donate and help, and I'd encourage you to do that. But what I would ask is that you do some research. I feel like a lot of locals on the ground are a little bit underwhelmed and a little bit disillusioned with how the powers that be are sort of managing that crisis. So if you can, I encourage you to do a little bit of research and find out exactly ways that you might be able to benefit the local community in a local way, rather than, you know, something on a larger scale. I don't know. I'm not an expert in these things, but to me, that just feels like the right thing to do. So anyway, that's my spiel on that. Godspeed everybody from that area, and I hope everything works out for the best for all of you. I'm already emotional. This is a bad place to start. All right, Ren, money game part 2. Let's jump right in. Here we go. Oh, okay.
Strange time we're living in, panic and hysteria. Poor man learn, the rich man don't care for your narcissist mindset spread like malaria. Sit back and watch the show. America, Britain split through fickle shit. A government of hypocrites. These counterfeit politicians sit in parliament, not adequate. Come on. Needlessly bleeding, resources all dry. Turn a blind eye if it means a pay rise. Oh, what a shame it would be, I would die if number 10 Downing Street burned in a fire. Only joking, only messing, don't be stressing. I'm a peaceful adolescent, there's no need to be unpleasant. Write my thesis in a rhyme scheme to analyze the brain while my fingers on the trigger of a money game. Oh, rain, rain, rain.
Oh. Look, I'm loath to stop it at all, but that seems like a good enough place to stop. First of all, I love the way that he sort of can move from spoken word into song in such a beautifully organic way. There is something, his real artistry is taking really complex concepts and political narratives and ideas and ideologies and figuring out the most succinct pathway to touch on all of those things without making it overly verbose or, speaking too much or like getting too granular, like, let's just have a look at some of these, strange times of living in panic and hysteria. Like, that's, if you had to define what the political landscape looks like, particularly in America, but also with global politics now, that would be the different dictionary definition. And I'm not talking just about politics. I'm talking about everything right down through social media and the way that we're engaging with one another on things like Facebook and things like that. Poor man learn, the rich man don't care for you. That's, again, I feel like I've been around since the 70s and I've never seen a bigger stratification between, the elite and the proletariat, as anyone who's read 1984 would say. It's never felt like there was too big of a gap between the wealthy elites and the, or at least as big as there is now. And I don't know that anything's changed. I mean, I guess it has with, these global massive corporations that have sort of blown up over time. It just seems like everyone's really fixated on that right now, and with good reason, but just things like, Britain split, sit back and watch the show. America really is. It does seem like the world's worst reality program, right? Britain split with Brexit and all that. But see, again, with a couple of lines, he's already set the pace and he's sort of like, this is the establishing shot for the video. It's like everything is just balls to the wall crazy right now. Britain split through fickle shit, a government of hypocrites. I don't think there's anybody left or right that would disagree with that statement on some level, right? These counterfeit politicians sit in parliament, not adequate. Needlessly bleeding resources all dry, turn a blind eye if it means a pay rise. Oh, what a shame it would be. I would die if number 10 Downing Street burned in a fire, which sounds aggressive. That's the kind of rhetoric you would expect from somebody like Rage Against the Machine, right? Somebody who's anti-establishment, revolutionary. But then Ren, being more of like a poet rather than a protester, he tempers that expectation by going, only joking, only messing, don't be stressing. I'm a peaceful adolescent. There's no need to be unpleasant, right? So he's throwing the idea out there, but then immediately tempering it by saying, look, this is what it is. I'm not a violent person. I'm just here to educate and open people's minds. That's one stanza of this poem. Like, we've covered so much ground with just 8 sentences, and to a rhythm. Like, writing is hard enough. Writing something that captures people's imaginations and gives you an impression and makes you feel a certain way takes a certain lyrical poeticism, right? And yet then you've got to take that and you've got to fit it into a pentameter that follows a rhythm. Now, if you just got a book and tried to fit the words to that rhythm, it's not going to work. So that means there's a lot of pulling things out and massaging, cadences and things like like syllables and stuff like that. Sometimes you've got the perfect word, but it's not going to fit. So you've got to remove something else or delete that line entirely and come up with a new tack or whatever. It's just masterpiece work, you know? And there's a lot of great lyricists out there like Leonard Cohen and people like that. I'm not saying that Ren is the only person in the world who can do this, but I can't sit here and watch this without calling out the artistry of it. It really is spectacular. And so we'll jump back into where it cuts back in with rain.
Burned in the fire. Only joking, only messing. Don't be stressing. I'm a peaceful adolescent. There's no need to be unpleasant. Write my thesis in a rhyme scheme to analyze the brain while my fingers on the trigger of a money game. Oh, rain, 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 rain. A storm, it comes our way. And no surprise to distorted lies. Poison in the veins. But we don't want to blame. It's easier to blame. Good point, the mirror at ourselves. We're all part of this whole money game.
Oh, man. Oh, I love that little reference to the first clip.
This old money game.
Oh.
This old money is...
What is that really delicate sort of breathy thing that he does there in his sort of like false like mix or whatever? It just reminds me of somebody and I can't think who it is. But it just sounds so wonderfully coarse and organic, right? But the thing that was magical about that chorus is that he's sort of taking all of that, right? It's real easy to sit in the community of Earth right now and look around and point fingers and go, everything's chaotic. It's all crazy. It's all driven by money and greed and power and all this, like the plot of a dramatic TV show on HBO or something, right? But then, you know, he's pointing out that everybody here in the West, in all the developed countries at least, and many people who are in underdeveloped countries as well, we're all complicit in the issue. No one is without blame. You know, like the perfect example of that would be, how many of you right now are watching this video on a phone with a lithium battery that's mined, you know, using slave labor in cobalt mines in the Congo, right? We're all complicit. You can't exist in society in any functional capacity without being complicit. You know, we all point fingers at the billionaires and get angry at companies like Apple and things, but they're so interwoven into our society that there's no extrication of that. We're all complicit. We complain about slavery on mobile phones that use slavery to be created, right? So, but again, see, Ren's doing it again. He's taking something that's such a simple, beautiful, less is more kind of chorus, and he's just making me just analyze the world around me to such a degree it makes me uncomfortable. I'm going to jump back a little bit.
Money is a game and the ladder we climb turns a saint into a sinner with his finger in crime. I'll break it down for you motherfuckers line by line. This is business economics.
It just reminded me of, like, you know, because this is technically like hip hop, right? It reminded me of a line by Lauryn Hill. Fuji's The Score was an amazing rap album from the 90s. And there's a line in it, and it's about Lauryn Hill talking about how much effort goes into creating like high thought process kind of rap, right? And she goes, and after all of my logic and my theory, I add a motherfucker so you ignorant N-words hear me, right? So it's like I have to make it connect with all of the audiences. And sometimes it takes a punch in the face of like profanity. Sometimes it takes eloquent, well-composed, like poetry or like just cadence or beautiful like lyricism. But I don't know why just putting the MF in there, it just sort of drove that home. It just sort of gave me that same sensation of like he's trying to cater to everybody, giving everyone the same message, but sort of maybe translating it into a few different dialects, if that makes sense.
This old Money is a game and the ladder we climb turns a saint into a sinner with his finger in crime. I'll break it down for you motherfuckers line by line. This is business economics in a nursery rhyme. She sells seashells on a seashore, but the value of these shells will fall due to the laws of supply and demand. No one wants to buy shells because there's loads on the sand. Step one, must create a sense of scarcity. Shells will sell much better if the people think they're rare, you see. Bear with me, take as many shells as you can find.
The De Beers
on an island, stockpile them high until they're rarer than a diamond. Step two, gotta make the people think that they want them, really fucking want them. Hit them like Bronson. Influencers, product placement, featured primetime entertainment. If you haven't got a shell, then you're just a fucking waste, man. Free, it's monopoly. Invest inside some property. Start a corporation, make a logo, do it properly. Shells must sell, that will be your new philosophy. Swallow all your morals, they're a poor man's quality. 4. Expand, expand, expand. Clear forest, make land, fresh blood on hands. 5. Why just shells? Why limit yourself? She sells seashells, sell oil as well. 6. Guns, sell stock, sell diamonds, sell rock, sell water to a fish, sell the time to a clock. 7. Press on the gas, take your foot off the brakes, then run to be the president of the United States. 8. Big smile, make big wave, that's great. Now the truth is overrated, tell lies out the gate. 9. Polarize the people, controversy is the game. It don't matter if they hate you, if they all say your name. 10. The world is yours. Step out on the stage to a round of applause. You're a liar, cheat, a devil, a whore, and you sell seashells on the seashore. Rain, rain, rain.
Look, I'm not a hip hop guy so much, you know. I mean, I just mentioned the Fugees earlier. A lot of my interest in hip hop and stuff like that goes back to, you know, the 90s and things like that. I've got albums I like, you know, Spearhead and things, a lot of the sort of alternative era stuff as well, and things like that. But as far as like, you know, modern hip hop and things like that, I'm not completely up on all that stuff, but I do know incredible art when I see it. And that's got to be up there with some of the greatest rapping in history, you know, as far as like I keep using words like poetry and lyricism, and that's exactly what it is. But again, not a single syllable's wasted in painting such a vivid picture, and to do it all obviously in Ren's own style as well. He's not aping any particular style of hip hop that I'm like, God damn it, I'm crying, far out. This is what always gets me. Like, the one thing that makes me emotional isn't the super sad stuff, or that, you know, I mean, Tale of Jenny and Screech did as well. But at the end of the day, it's the same reason. I wasn't like, it's a sad story, right? I'm a guy, I can handle sad stories, but it was the beautiful style with which Ren rendered the image to me that made me emotional. It was his artistry that made me emotional. It wasn't the story so much, because we can pick up any newspaper in the country and read that same story and just move on to the next page. But again, like for me, it's the achievement that pushes the boundaries for me. You know, it's seeing something that is akin to looking into the face of God, right? And am I overselling it? Maybe, but to me, that last sort of verse, I guess, was just perfection. It was so good. I'm not overselling it. This isn't me hyping it up. I mean, I can go back and analyze it, but you got it. He told you everything you need to know. The way he broke it down into parts, you know. And I mean, and all of this is fact. Like if you don't know the story, I encourage you to go look up De Beers and find out exactly why you're paying $3,000 for a diamond ring when diamonds aren't even rare, you know. And all of that's right there. He's making the analogous to seashells. You take something that there's an abundance of, then you take them all away, you mine them, figure out a way of telling everybody that they're rare. And if you don't have one, you're a nobody. Like, you're constantly hearing stories about women who just will not accept a non-natural diamond. A man-made diamond isn't the same thing, even though it's probably got greater clarity and it's better quality. It's not the same as one that's been pulled out of the ground, because this is impression of rarity. Whereas if you can just make one in a press, you know, through some sort of a process, it doesn't feel rare. It's almost akin to having a cubic zirconia. People judge people for having a cubic zirconia ring because they're not expensive, and you're kind of flexing like you have money. And then he goes through, you know, the real estate market and owning property and, developing and things like that and expand and then clearing the land. And so now the natural world is kind of at the mercy of this sort of consumerist exercise, right? Why just sell shells? Why not? Why limit yourself? And then, we move into oil and war, that creates war and things like that. And then when you get to the top of this pile and you become the billionaire and you've made all of this progress and success, you're like, I'm at the top of the game, when really, like, what have you really achieved other than divisiveness and chaos, right? Polarize the people, controversy is the game. Just look at the mainstream media. When is the last time you've ever heard something on mainstream media that you actually felt was the truth and not some spin? It doesn't matter if they hate you, if they all say your name. Notoriety or, and fame and all that are kind of the same thing. What do they say? There's no such thing as bad press.
The game, it don't matter if they hate you, if they all say your name. 10. The world is yours.
I mean, that wasn't lost on me either. The Make America Great Again, getting embroidered right before it's like,
world is yours. Step out on the stage to a round of applause. You're a liar, cheat, a devil, a whore, and you sell seashells on the seashore. Rain, 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 rain. A storm, it comes our way. And no surprise to distorted lies, poison in the veins, but we don't upon the blame. It's easier to blame. We point the mirror at ourselves. We're all part of this whole money game. This old money game.
In 3 minutes and 42 seconds, Ren, I think, said more than most artists will say in their entire career. Dude, I'm kind of left speechless on this one. I love that this took the idea of Money Game 1 and expanded upon it and made it more of a global thing rather than something that was a little bit more personal, I guess. I'm trying to think back to the first one now. This is kind of whitewashed my brain. But look, you know what, if anybody was going to try and deliver a message of how they feel about things to the people, I don't know that there's anybody who can do it better than someone like Ren. There are a bunch of great rappers and musicians out there that have messages. And not to take anything away from all of those people as well. I think, like, in the pantheon of the thinking man's musicians, I think Ren is definitely up there in the pantheon, right? And everybody's going to connect with a different artist differently. There's going to be people out there who are going to appreciate, someone from more of the hard sort of rap demographic to get this kind of content. There's going to be people who appreciate Ren's he's got a bit of a soft touch, right? He doesn't sort of employ, I was going to say shock value, but he does. It's more like he doesn't really employ aggressive tactics. He kind of like sidles up to you and just sort of like imparts just a snippet of knowledge on you and then disappears. You know what I mean? And then you sit there going, God damn it, now I can't stop thinking about that. Wow, what a masterpiece. And again, I say this every time. He's just like, can he just miss just once so the rest of us musicians can feel like we've accomplished something in our lives? I know, look, this is part of the reason I get emotional too, is because on some level, on some part of my being, I know that I'm never going to create something as amazing as what I just witnessed. And sometimes you have to accept that. It's like in the movie Good Will Hunting, Stellan Skarsgård's character just gets so frustrated because he sees Will just doing what he's been working towards his whole life. Will can do that effortlessly, and it's trivial to him. And Stellan's character can't handle it because he's like, this is what I do. I'm the best at this. And you make me look like a child who doesn't understand anything. And that's kind of partially how I feel when I come across artists like Ren, and to a degree, musicians like Aurora and things like that just seem to understand the fundamentals on a whole other level. The rest of us try to figure out a way to make something palatable for a consumer. And then, then you get people like this who that's the trivial part. The idea is, what message am I going to send? And what vehicle am I going to use to send that message? Rather than sitting there worrying about the nitty gritty of, I wonder if this is the right chord for this, or maybe I should use a different synth sound or something like that. It's really easy to agonize and fixate on the details when really the overall impression is the thing that's important. I'm worn out. Man, all right. Anyway, that's about all I got to say. I hope you got something out of that one. If you feel like I brightened your day at all, feel free to support the channel. Just buy me a coffee. I'll leave a link in the description. Don't forget to like, share, follow, subscribe. Drop this in any forums or anything you think might appreciate it. I'd appreciate that as well. Trying to get my numbers up because I got some plans for the future. I want to try and do some other things. And having a large subscriber count, while it doesn't matter to me, so much in the numbers, it matters to other people. That makes things a little bit easier for me further down the line. So if you can help out, 90% of people who watch this channel aren't subscribed. So if you could just click subscribe, I'd really appreciate that. Also, come check out my Discord. We talk a lot about music. It's small, but we get things done over there. So thanks again, guys. Appreciate all of you. Stay primal, and I'll catch you on the next one.